Hey guys, Chad Trofgerbin here from IncredibleFlashTutorials.com, and today I'm going to demonstrate on how to create a background in Adobe Flash. Now by background, I mean an environment in which your cartoon characters can be in and interact with. So this is basically the second part in the creation process of an animated cartoon, because first you create your characters, and then the next step is to probably go through and create some backgrounds so you can visualize this a bit. And then the final step would be to animate the whole thing together. So basically in this tutorial, I'll just go through and I will create a background, an outdoor background, and I'll just go through step by step on how I do my backgrounds, and I hope you get some benefit out of it. Okay, be sure you have a new document open. Of course, have Flash open as well. So once you get Flash open, just go ahead and create a new document, and then you'll have it on your screen just like this. And the next step I'm going to do right off the bat is I'm going to resize the document. Now the default size is 550 by 400, but I tend to like my documents to be a little wider than that. So I'm just going to go to the Properties tab and then go down to the Size area and then click Edit. And now I'm just going to change this to 720 by 480. And 720 by 480 is kind of a standard film size. You know, it's not HD film, but that's kind of the standard film size. And so that's why I kind of use that one as a kind of a starting point. And again, you can resize this however you want. If you want it wider, go right ahead. If you want it skinnier, go right ahead. This is what I'll be working with for this tutorial. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now, the next thing we need to do is put something on the screen. So I am going to start with a basic ground as kind of like a starting point. So what I'm going to do is come over here to the Shape tool and then hold down my mouse button and then click the Rectangle tool located right there. Next, I'm going to dictate the Fill and Stroke properties. Whenever I do a background, most of the time, I like to have my lines not be black. I like to have my lines be kind of less definitive than the lines that make up the characters that I create. And so, starting with the ground, I'm going to have a grassy ground, basically. So grass. So when I go to my stroke color, I'm going to choose a darker green. So something like this, I'll go ahead and choose. And then for the fill color, I'm going to go ahead and choose a green color that I think would be well suited for the grass. And then for my stroke size, I'm going to choose 3. Now again, this will probably depend all on your style. You might not even use lines in your style. I mean, that's perfectly acceptable. There's no right or wrong way to draw something. So just keep that in mind that this is what I prefer. So I'm going to go ahead and choose a 3-point stroke size. Now I'm going to come over here to my stage and I'm going to start right about here with my cursor. I'm going to click the mouse button down and drag this, and we'll go right about here and release. Now, as you can probably see, my rectangle is a bit outside of the white area, which is the stage, and that's not an issue. I actually go outside of the stage all the time. It's kind of better. I prefer to have an overflow as opposed to not enough. And then you have the danger of having white spaces where the drawing should be. Anyway, I have my rectangle down. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over here to the selection tool and select that, and then come back here, and I'm going to, with my selection tool, come down here to the top line that makes up the rectangle to where a little like curved line icon will appear below my cursor. This means we can grab the line and manipulate it. So I'm going to now grab this line, hold, and drag up a little, kind of so I kind of get this bowing like shape thing going here. And I'm going to kind of move it more over this way. Just kind of move it right about here and release. So now we kind of have like a curve thing going here. But I'm going to alter it just a little bit more by coming over here, click, hold, and dragging down a bit, and kind of going like this. Right about that. So there we go. That works out good. And we can always adjust this stuff later. None of this is definitive. So I might be doing that from time to time, going back and forth and tweaking things, because when you're doing this, it's kind of like you're putting together a puzzle and you're just trying to figure out what you want. So, okay, I have the ground now laid down. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tweak the color of the grass. I always kind of start with a solid color to get an idea, but most of the time I use gradients. And so what I'm going to do is come over here to my paint bucket tool and select that. And then I'm going to go up to the color tab, which is located right here. And at any time, if you're going to a tab and it's not here on your screen, 9 times out of 10, if you go to the window option, you'll be able to find it in here somewhere. So like there's my color window right there. If I would click that, then my color would appear. My color window would appear. Anyway, go to my color tab, and then I'm going to go to type. I'm going to hit the drop down menu and select linear. Now I'm going to come down here and adjust my colors. See, this gradient allows you to pick a color that's actually composed of a bunch of different colors. You can have as many colors as you want within this gradient, and it'll transition from one color to the other is basically what it does. So what I want to do is I want to start with this color right here. I'm going to double click on this little square right here, and then I'm going to adjust my color to something right about this, actually where it was. And then I'm going to come over here and double click, and then adjust my color to something, well, let's try something like that. And now, once I have the desired color, with my paint bucket tool selected, I'm going to come over here to my deformed rectangle that I set down, and I'm going to just click in here in the rectangle anywhere. And as you can see, it applies the linear gradient from left to right, which is great if that's what you want. But I actually kind of want the light part to be on the top and the dark green part to be on the bottom of the rectangle. In order to do this, you take your paint bucket tool, and then you go anywhere in the rectangle, and you click, hold, and drag, and you either move your mouse up or down. Depending on which direction will depend on which color is the split at the top and the bottom. And so I'm going to try this first. I'm just going to take my paint bucket tool and move it up like this, and then release. And there you go. As you can see, my light color is on the top, and my dark color is now on the bottom. And I like that. But you can also adjust it too, depending on the length of the line. For instance, if I go ahead and click, hold, and drag again, and the line is this big, and I release, it'll adjust how the gradient looks. If I make a big line, the gradient's going to be more seamless. If I make a short line, it's going to be more abrupt. So that's just something to keep in mind. Anyway, I'm going to just kind of move it back to kind of where I had it. I kind of like that. And again, we can always readjust this later if we need to. Okay, the next step is I'm going to create a sky. So I'm going to go ahead down to my timeline here. And actually first, I should probably rename this layer that we have our grass on to ground or grass. That way we don't get confused when we're going through this process, and we know what each layer consists of. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on this layer name and then change it to grass and hit enter. Okay, now I'm going to go down to my new layer option right here and click that, and I'm going to take this new layer that just appeared, click, hold, and drag it below the grass layer, because our sky will be behind our grass. And I'm going to go ahead and just label this layer right away and name it sky. Okay, next step is to come over here to our rectangle tool and select the rectangle. And then I'm going to do the same thing I basically did when defining the grass. I'm going to select a linear color, and I'm going to go ahead and double click on the first color here, and I'm going to switch that to kind of a more of a darker blue, something like this. Then for my second color, I'm going to choose more of a lighter blue. So we'll go something like this and see how that looks. Next, I'm going to go to my properties box, and I'm going to go to my stroke color setting and change that to none, because I don't want a line around my sky for this. Next, I'm going to take the rectangle tool and come back out to the stage, go to the top left part of the stage, click my mouse button down, hold and drag, and then create a sky, like so. Now, I'm going to do what I did before. I want the dark part more on the top and then the light color more on the bottom of that rectangle. So I'm just going to come over here to my paint bucket tool and then come back here. And starting here, I'm going to click, hold, and drag and go up like this. Oops, I went the wrong way. So now I'm going to have to click, hold, and drag and move it down instead of up. There we go. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is create some hills for us to put in the background. So I'm going to come down here to the timeline again, and then click the new layer button, and then I'm going to rename the layer Hills. Just like that, and hit return. And the Hills layer is in between the sky and grass layer. So it'll be in front of the sky, but behind the grass, which is exactly what we want. Now I'm going to go over to my shape tool, and I'm going to make sure I have the oval tool selected. Like that. And then I'm going to adjust my color here. So the first thing I'm going to do is come to my stroke color and make sure I'm going to get more of kind of a darker bluish color, kind of like that. And then I'm going to go over to my fill color and select something kind of more dark greenish blue. Something kind of like that for now. And I'm going to adjust this once I get this drawn in. It's just kind of easier to do it that way. So with my oval tool, I'm going to come over here to the stage, and I'm going to go ahead and draw a pretty big oval here. So I'm going to click, hold, and drag and release right about like that. So then I kind of have a pretty good looking oval there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my selection tool and then come over here to this oval I just drew and then double click on it, and I'm going to go ahead and edit and copy, and then I'm going to go to edit, paste, and center. So now I have another oval. And with my selection tool, I'm going to take this oval and kind of move it over, kind of maybe more down like this. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to edit, copy, and then edit, paste, and center. And then with this one, I'm going to move it over more and maybe kind of put it more kind of like that. There we go. And now let's click off so we can see it. Now I'm going to go ahead and recolor these ovals right now. So I'm going to come over here to my paint bucket tool and select that. Come over to my color tab, and then I'm going to go down to type, linear, and then I'm going to basically do what I've been doing with the other two objects I colored. I'll select this first color, and then I'm going to select kind of a more of a color, like a bluish color like this. Then the next color, I'm going to select more kind of a greenish color like that. I'm going to come over here to the first oval, and I'm going to click it. And sometimes you'll notice I can't draw a line like I was with the other objects. If that ever happens, just come over here to the bottom of your toolbar and click this icon right here. This locks the fill so it only fills a certain way. But if you unlock it, then you have free reign over how you adjust your fill. So I'm going to go ahead and go like this. Actually, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go down like this. There we go. Okay, I'm going to do it to this one then. And then I'm going to do it to this one like that. There we go. Okay. The next step for these hills are I'm going to, with my selection tool, select the selection tool, come down here to the timeline. I'm going to click the hills layer, and then that'll select the entire hills range that I have created. And I'm going to hit F8. And this will create a symbol. And basically a symbol allows you to animate stuff and do other things with it, which I will show you in 1 second. So I'm going to create a symbol. I'm going to name it hills. And I'm going to make sure it's a movie clip type of a symbol. Make sure you have it on movie clip, and then hit OK. Now, with that symbol selected, you'll see that the symbol grouped all of the hills together. I'm going to go over to my Properties tab, and then go down to this icon way at the bottom. It's called the Add Filter icon. I'm going to click that, and then go to Blur. The next step then is to adjust the quality of the blur. So I'll come down here, go to Quality, and go to High. And as you can see, it kind of added a blur effect, obviously, to the hills. And I might adjust the blur how it looks a little bit later on, but we'll go ahead and get some more stuff in here first. The next thing I need are some clouds, because the sky up there, it's kind of, barren right now. So I'm going to come down here and make a new layer, and then I'm going to name the layer Clouds, just like that. Enter. And I'll move the clouds just right above the sky, just like that. I'm going to come over here to my Shape tool and select the Oval tool. I'm going to come up here to my Fill and Stroke settings, and I'm going to change the stroke to none, and then the fill to white. And we won't have to deal with the stroke size because there is no stroke. So now I'm going to come over here to the sky around here, and I'm going to draw an oval like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw another one kind of below like this. I'm basically going to keep doing this and create kind of a cloud shape out of the ovals. Just kind of like this. Okay, and then for the center, I'll just go ahead and take my paint bucket tool and then fill in the center like that. Okay, looks pretty good. I'm going to come over here then and click the cloud, and I'm going to make this cloud a symbol now. So I'm going to go ahead and hit F8, and then I'm just going to name it Cloud 1, and make sure it's a movie clip, and then hit OK. And then I'm going to get my Free Transform tool, which is located right here. Click that. Then come over to the cloud and kind of squish it just a little, because I don't want it that tall. And maybe just widen it a tad like that. And then we'll just click off of it with our selection tool. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just make another cloud really quick, doing the same method I just did. So I'm just going to come over here to my Oval tool and click that. And then I have my color and my stroke ready to go. So I'm just going to go ahead and just do the same thing. I want it to look slightly different than that cloud, which is why I am doing it again instead of just copying that cloud. So just kind of go ahead and do a little bit of variety here. Here we go. There we go. And then again, just click the cloud, hit F8, and then name the cloud Cloud 2. Make sure it's a movie clip, and then hit OK. And I guess that cloud's fine. I don't need to adjust that one really right now. And again, since these are symbols, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the hills. Actually, I'm going to do a couple, and I'm going to do something additional to this actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this cloud first, hold in my shift key, and then click this cloud. This will allow us to select both clouds at once. And now I'm going to come down here to my filters properties, and then click add filter, and then go to blur. And then I'm going to go ahead and change that blur to high. And then I'm going to come up here to my color effect and go to the style drop down menu and switch it to alpha. This will allow us to adjust the transparency of the cloud. We have a little meter right here we can move back and forth to adjust how opaque or transparent the clouds are. So I'm going to go ahead and move this up to about 65. That looks about right. And actually, you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm going to click off, and I'm going to click this cloud only, and then adjust the transparency a little more. Make this one a little bit more clearer, to about 85 actually. So it looks a little bit different than that one. There's a little color variation there. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw a fence, a wooden fence. So I'm going to come down here to my timeline. I'm going to click the grass layer, and then I'm going to click new layer, and then I'm going to name the new layer fence, just like that, and then hit return. Okay, now I'm going to come over to my shape tool, and then hold down the mouse button, and then get my rectangle tool, and then I'm going to come up here to my fill and stroke settings. The first thing I'm going to do is click the stroke color, and I'm going to change this to kind of a dark brown, like that. The next step is to come over to my fill color and change this more to kind of a light brown. Let's go like something like this for now. See how that looks. And I'll keep my stroke at 3.0. And now I'm going to come over here, kind of outside of the stage for right now, just to kind of draw this. And I'm going to click my mouse button down, hold and drag, and create kind of a skinny rectangle, about like this. Then with my selection tool, I come over here, select that, come back over here, and I'm going to kind of distort it a little, so it's just not completely perfectly rectangle, like a rectangle. So I'm just going to take my selection tool and come on this side of the post, click my mouse button down, hold, and kind of just bow it in a little like that. And then I'm going to come up here and kind of do the same thing and bring it up a little like that. And then maybe bring this one out a tad. Kind of like that. That looks pretty good. Now what I'm going to do, just to kind of make this easier, is I'm going to click the fence layer so that the post is highlighted, and then hit F8. And this will create a new layer, of course. And I'm just going to go ahead and name it fence. And you can keep it as a movie clip, that's okay. And then hit OK. Now I'm going to double click the post to go into the fence layer I just created, or the fence symbol I just created. And I'm going to go ahead now and come down to the timeline and then add another layer. I'm going to now make a second post. So I'll just come over here and select my rectangle tool, and then come back here, and then I will go ahead and draw it. So I'll come right about here, and then I'll draw it in. I guess about like that will work. And then I'm actually going to take my selection tool and basically do the same thing. Just kind of distort it a little. Just so it looks kind of older or something like that. Okay. I'm actually, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this post, take my free transform tool, and I'm going to shrink it a little, just for a little variety. There we go. Then finally I'm going to go ahead and draw one more post. So get my rectangle tool, come over to right about here, and go ahead and draw it in. Match the bottom about like that. And then take my selection tool and go ahead and distort it a little. There we go. That'll work for now. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead. Oh, I forgot to place this post on its own layer, but that's okay. It's not a huge deal. Most of the time you want to place every single thing you draw on its own layer. But for this purpose, it's not going to be a huge deal because we're not going to be working with this too much. So I'm just going to go ahead now and actually make a new layer for the next post I'm going to draw though. So I'm going to come over here and take my rectangle tool and then come back here. I'm going to go ahead and draw a rectangle going this way, like so, and then release. And then again, with my selection tool, I'm going to just go ahead and just kind of distort this a little. Kind of bring it down, maybe a little bit down like that, and then go like that. There we go. Again, with the rectangle tool, I'm going to come down here, make a new layer, then come up here, and then draw another post in the middle-ish of these posts, kind of like that. And then go ahead and distort it again with my selection tool. There we go. And then finally, I'll do one more post. Come down here, make a new layer, and then one more. Selection tool, and then just give it a couple of tweaks here. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, now we're going to go back out to the main scene by just clicking this button right up here. And now we're just going to scoot this over here. We are going to take the fence and then kind of move it and center it on the stage. About like that. That's about good. Okay. Next, I'm going to create a road. So maybe we can have our character walk on the road or, something like that. Something to have in the foreground at least. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my shape tool here and then select the rectangle tool. And then I'm going to go up here and choose my colors. So for the stroke color, I'm going to go something more along the lines of, I'd say this. And then for my fill color, I'll do something more like, something like this. That'll work. Okay, I'll have my stroke size at 3.0. That's good. This time though, for my line style, I think I'm going to choose something kind of more like this right here, ragged. I think that'll work. Okay, then coming down here, oops, I gotta make sure I make a new layer first. So I'm just gonna come down here to my timeline and then click the grass layer, and then select new layer, and then just rename the new layer to road, like that, and then hit enter. Okay, so I'm on my road layer. I have my new rectangle tool ready to go, my new selection and my colors and stuff. I'm gonna come over here, and I'm going to go ahead right about here, just right under the fence. Click, hold, and drag, and then draw in my road, like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and select the selection tool, and then I'm going to go ahead and kind of just bow this up like I did with the ground, just a slight bit, kind of like that, just to kind of give it a little bit more variety. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and select my fence, and then move it up a little, like so. Okay, now I'm going to come down here to my paint bucket tool and then go to my color tab, and I'm going to go ahead and adjust the color and make the road a gradient. So with linear selected, come down here to your color, select that, and I'm going to choose this color for my beginning one, and then I'm going to come down here to my second color and double click that, And then choose something kind of darker for the second color. Something more along the lines of this. Okay. And then I'm just going to come down here and I'm going to click off my lock fill icon so I can adjust my fill how I want to. Then come over to the road and then hold down the mouse button and click and hold up like that. And actually I might go the other way. Go down like this. There we go. That looks good. And I'm actually going to go ahead and adjust my grass fill again because as you can see it kind of lost some of it since I put the road in. You don't really see the dark part anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and with my selection tool, I'm going to click my fence and I'm going to come down here to the timeline and I'm going to click this little button right here. This will hide the fence temporarily so I can go ahead and see what's behind it easier. Then I'm going to take my eyedropper tool located right here and then click the grass. This will select the color that I had for it before. And then and then when you do that, it automatically selects your paint bucket tool. I'm going to come down here and deselect my lock fill option here, and then come back to the grass and go ahead and just redo it really quick. There we go. Something like about like that will do. Okay, I think that will work. And I'm going to go ahead and make my fence reappear like that. Okay. Now let's go ahead and add some details to this. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe add some grass blades. So I'm going to go and make a new layer like this and then name this new layer, how about just grass blades? Enter. Now I'm going to take my rectangle tool and then I'm going to come over here and select my colors and my properties. So for my fill and stroke, go ahead and I'll select kind of a darker green for the outline, and then for the fill, I'll select kind of more of a lighter green like this. Now off the side again of the stage, I'm going to go ahead and make a rectangle like this, about like that. Oops, I don't want the ragged look though. So I'm going to come over here for my selection tool and click that. And then with my selection tool, click, hold, and drag and highlight the rectangle. And then come over to my properties and on my style, go down to the drop down menu and select solid. And that will transform the line type back to a solid. Now I'm going to click off, but with my selection tool still selected, I'm going to go ahead and shape this this rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and start here at this edge, and then like a little 90-degree angle edge will appear by your cursor when you do this. Click, hold, and drag, and then move this over like this, and then do the same thing for the other side slightly, kind of like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and bow this side out, and then bow this side in like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and kind of just shape the top here a bit. Like so. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and delete this line on the bottom here. Just click the line and delete it. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and select this whole thing like that, and then hit F8 to make a symbol. And I'm going to name this one Blade. And then I'm going to keep it as a movie clip and then hit OK. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this graph. Well, first what I'm going to do actually is select my fence and then hide that fence again, so I don't have to worry about dealing with it when I'm trying to put my grass down. Then I'm going to take the grass blade and kind of move it over here, and it's pretty big right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my free transform tool and then scale that down a little bit here, about like that. And maybe this isn't so much grass as it is more like weeds or something. Then again, my cartoon style is pretty, it amplifies a lot of things. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And then I'm going to go ahead and hold in Command C or Control C if you're on a PC, and then hit C, and then with the Command key or the Control key still held in, hit V. This will copy and paste respectively. I'm just going to go ahead and then place another blade down like this. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of keep going. I'm just going to kind of keep pasting blades in as I go along here. Now I'll kind of readjust these in a second. Move over here. Okay, about like that. And then I'm going to come down here to the grass blade layer that I made and click that. So that'll select all the blades I just made. And now I'm going to copy those. So Command C, and I'm going to paste them. Command V. Now, with these new blades, I'm going to go up to Modify, Transform, Flip Horizontal. And then I'm going to take these and kind of place them right about here. And then now this time I'm going to kind of shrink these a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and with my free transform tool, I'm going to shrink these down a little bit and then bring them back over here. About like that. And now some readjusting will of course be needed. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust these where they're intersecting with the other blades. Kind of like this. Just kind of move them around. And the way I'm showing you is, it's a quick way to, get results. And so a lot of copying and pasting, but it doesn't look too bad once you kind of get going on it. And now I'm going to select my layer again and select all those and then copy that. But now I'm going to make a new layer and go ahead and just make a new layer. Double click and then name this Grass Blades 2. And now I'm going to paste those blades on that layer. And now I'm going to use my free transform tool and then make them a bit smaller. And then I'm going to kind of curve them up a little to adjust to the bow of the landscape right there. And I'm actually going to go ahead and move this layer down behind that layer because these grass blades are behind those grass blades. So then I'm going to go ahead and copy some more of these and go like this. So I'm go ahead with my selection tool. I'm going to hold in Shift while I'm selecting these so I can select multiple ones like we did before with some of the other stuff we were doing. And then go to Control C and then Control V. And then move these. Oops. Sometimes they're hard to grab. Move these over here to fill in the rest of this area. Okay, there we go. Now we might add some more, or we might resize these because the grass blades are pretty big. I'm not sure how this is going to quite look yet. So I'm going to go ahead and make my fence reappear here. And the grass now is above the fence, and that's easily fixed by taking the fence tool, or the fence layer, and moving it above the grass, like so. And looking at this some more, I think I'm going to go ahead and make the grass smaller and make more of it. So, again, this is kind of like it's a process. You try some stuff, and if it doesn't look good, then you go ahead and you revamp. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and hide our fence again by clicking on it and then just going ahead and clicking on the eyeball right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and select the first grass blades layer, hold in Shift to select the second one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold in Command or Control and hit X. This will cut. Now I'm going to go ahead and paste is basically what I'm going to do. So I'm going to hold in Command or Control and hit V. That will paste it back. I'm basically pasting all this on one layer instead of two layers. So now I have a bunch of grass here. I'm going to come up here to my free transform tool, select that, and then I'm going to hold down my shift key so I can reshape this in proportion. Go over to this edge here, hold down the mouse button and scale this back a bit to right about there. That'll work. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my selection tool and move all of these down like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and hit F8 and make all of these one symbol so it's a little bit easier to work with. So I'm just going to go ahead and name it grass blades and then hit return. So there you go. Now I'm going to go ahead with my free transform tool like that. I'm going to go slightly just kind of tweak this so it's kind of in line with the road. Like so. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead with my selection tool. I'm going to select that symbol. I'm going to do Command C and then Command V to copy and paste respectfully. And I'm going to take this second pile of grass, I'm going to move it over there. Then with my free transform tool, I'm going to tweak it like this so it's kind of in line with the road. There we go. And I'm going to do this one more time. Selection tool, Command C, Command V, and then move this over here to fill in the last gap. Now I'm going to kind of just keep moving up and keep doing the same thing here. I should move that over and then move this over. I'm going to go ahead and select this layer so I have all three of those symbols, and then I'm going to go to Command C. I'm going to go to that empty grass layer that I have now because I took all the grass out of it, and then go to Command V and paste it on that layer. And now I'm going to go ahead with my free transform tool and then shrink these slightly just to kind of add that perspective in, and then I'm going to go ahead and move them down like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this one more time. So I'm going to go to Command C, come down here, make a new layer, and then go ahead and name this layer Grass Blades 3. I'll just abbreviate it GB3. And then I'm going to go ahead and paste the grass up there, and then free transform tool, just shrink it a little, and then I'm going to bring it back down like that. And I'm going to go ahead and tweak these so they're a bit more in line with the shape of the landscape up here. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of move this up to kind of help with the shaping of that as well. There we go. We have a couple of little spots in there, so I'm going to go ahead and just take this one and then Control C, and then I'm going to go to Modify, Transform, Flip Horizontal, and then I'm going to move this grass layer down right there to kind of fill in that way. And by flipping horizontal, it just adds a little bit of variety to the way the grass looks. I'm going to go ahead and do it in a couple more spots here just to fill in the spots. Using my arrow tools, I'm just going to nudge this down about like that. There we go. And then fill in that spot too. It's a little bare. Okay. Now if I go ahead and now replace my fence back there, there we go. It looks a little bit more grassy and a little bit better. Okay, now let's add some details to the road. So I'm going to come down here to my road, and I'm actually going to go ahead and make the road a symbol. So I'm going to click the road, and then come down here to my road layer and click that just to be sure I have everything selected on the road, and then hit F8, and then name this road. And it's a movie clip, and we hit OK. Now I'm going to double click to go into the movie clip. And I'm just going to go ahead and make a new layer. And then I'm going to go over to my line tool and select that. And then come up to my fill and stroke and select kind of a darker brown color here. Something like that. And then go to my style of line, click that, and then select stippled. Is that what that's called? Stippled. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw some lines on the road just to kind of give it a little bit more of a rugged detail. So just kind of go ahead, start here, and click and drag, draw like that, like that. I might go ahead and actually make these darker and bigger because they're kind of hard to see. Okay, with the, I'm going to go ahead and select the layer I just made these lines on. And then I'm going to take my selection tool and then come down here to the stroke size. I'm going to go ahead and bump this up a little and see what that does. Okay, I'm going to put it at about 10.75, and that makes the lines a bit bigger here and they look a bit different. And as far as the color, let me back out of this symbol really quick so I can kind of see this in full context here. Yeah, I think I can go ahead and just adjust the color a little bit. So I'm going to go back into that symbol, click that layer, and then click properties here, and then change it to, let me try black ones to see what that looks like. Click off. Yeah, you know, I might actually use black. And then I'm going to go ahead and select some lines individually and adjust the shape, the size, the stroke for them a little. So I'll make that one a little smaller. I'll go ahead and one a little bit smaller. You know, let's kind of add some randomization here to the look of all this. Okay. Actually, I might just do one more here. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to make a new layer like this, and then actually I should probably name these layers really quick for you guys so it's not, so you guys know exactly which layer is what. This bottom layer is the road. The second layer is kind of like, we'll just call it gravel. And then the next layer are going to be rocks, kind of like bigger rocks. So I'm going to come over here to my shape tool, and I'm going to select the rectangle tool. For my fill and stroke, I'm going to select the color for the stroke and make it kind of a dark gray. And then for the fill, make it a lighter gray, like that. And then I'm going to want the stroke size to be 3.0. And then I'm going to want the style to be solid. So then I'm going to come over here and kind of just draw a rectangle like this. And then with my selection tool, I'm going to shape it a bit here, round it a little. You know, it's kind of make it a little bit different, like that. There we go. It's kind of a rockish looking, kind of jagged, not perfect. And then go ahead and grab this and then move it onto the road. But it's a bit big, so I might go ahead with my free transform tool, shrink it a little like this. There we go. About right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and, actually I'll use an oval tool this time. Get a little bit of variety here. And I'll change the color to a little bit darker gray. And then come over here and then draw a circle. And then take my selection tool and then just kind of morph it a little here. See where it gets us. like that. That's about, nudge it like that. Okay, I'm actually going to go ahead and highlight that, and then take my free transform tool, and then nudge it like that. Kind of switch it around like that so it kind of looks like it's sitting on the base like that. And then grab that, then bring it over here. And then with my free transform tool again, I'm going to hold in shift and then shrink it down to kind of a proportional size, about like that. And then we'll put it kind of up there. And I might do one more. So I'll take the rectangle tool, I'll make the color, oh, let's do a light gray, and come over here, draw my rectangle, take my selection tool, and then I'll just go ahead and try to shape something here really quick. That works. Okay. Highlight that with my selection tool, take my free transform tool, maybe flip it around like this, and then go ahead and shrink it, and then bring it over. Set it down right about there. Okay, let's exit out of this symbol and get back onto the main stage. Okay, I see a problem here, and that's the grass is in front of the road because of the rock. As you can see, there's a grass blade blocking the rock. So all we have to do then is move the road above the grass blade symbols like that. There we go. All right. You know what? I'm really sorry about this, but I do got to do one more thing with this grass because as I'm sitting here and looking at it, it's like it's too much. We need detail there, but this looks like it's a bit too dominant and a bit too much, in my opinion anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to my timeline, and I'm going to select all 3 grass blade layers. So I'm going to select the bottom one right here, hold in shift, and then select the top one like that. Then I'm going to click one of the symbols that are selected, like that. Now I'm going to come down to my filters, and then go to add filter, and then go to blur. Now I'm going to come down here and go to high quality, and I'm going to, with my blur tools right here, I can adjust how big the blur is. I'm going to come up here to the 5 on either of these, and hold in my mouse button down, and then move it to the left a couple of ticks like that. Let's go to, let's see here. I'll go to 4, like that. There we go. I think that looks a bit better. It looks, a bit more drowned out, but there is detail, and you can tell that it is grass. Okay, for our last piece of scenery, I'm going to add a tree behind the fence. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to come over to my timeline, and right below my fence, so I'm going to click the road symbol. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to name it tree, and then hit enter. Now I'm going to come over to my rectangle tool and select that, and then come up here to my stroke color, and we're going to go with a darker brown for the tree trunk. So I'll just go ahead and select that color. And then come down here, and then I'll select kind of more of a color like this for the trunk. And then I'm going to come over here to the outside and draw a rectangle. Like so. Right about that. And then I'll go ahead with my selection tool. I'm going to go ahead and tweak this a bit. I'll grab the edge here and kind of move this in, and then move that one in. And I might go ahead and kind of bow it out here a little bit like that, and maybe move this up like that to kind of get the tree trunk established here. Now I'm going to go ahead, and I'm actually going to make this a symbol. So I'm going to click the tree layer, and then hit F8, and then name it tree, and then hit enter. Now, just double click to go into it. I'm going to come down here and make a new layer. And then I'll label my layers this time. I'll name this one trunk. And then the second one I'll name top. Now, with my oval tool, I'm going to make the top. So I'm going to come over here and select this and kind of get a darker green for the outline, and then get a lighter green for the fill. And then come over here. I'm going to attempt the same thing I did when I made the clouds, except it's going to be a bit different because we have lines involved. So we'll see how it goes. So the first thing I'm going to do, and just kind of go like this, set up one down here, and then kind of like this. Actually, that one might be a bit too big. I'm going to undo that. Kind of like that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead with my paint bucket tool and fill in the center there. And now with my eraser tool, I'm going to come down to this icon right here, eraser mode, hold my mouse button, and then select erase lines. So then I'm going to come over here and start kind of erasing lines, but not all the lines. So I kind of have some details in the tree itself. Now let's see how this looks. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to recolor this really quick too. So I'm going to take my paint bucket tool, come over to the color tab, and then I'm going to go to radial this time instead of linear. So the type is radial. I'm going to select some green colors here. First, kind of more of a lighter one, and then more of a darker one. Come over here and splash that color on. And I'm going to do the same thing with the trunk. I'm going to do a linear type. First, I'll do the color I have for the trunk already. I think it was this one. And then I'm going to do this one. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to draw a horizontal line across on the trunk and get kind of more of a gradient on that. Then I'm going to go back out to my scene. Now I'm going to take the tree with my selection tool and kind of move it over a bit, like this. About like that. I'm going to move the tree below the grass blades. So the grass is kind of covering the trunk. Well, at least I'm going to do that for some of the layers. So I'm going to go ahead and move the tree down to this one. And, okay, that's not going to work because the grass blades are above the trunk. So let's go ahead and move that back up for right now. And let's go ahead then and move these grass blades on this layer above the tree. And then if we move the tree down, we can see that the grass blades are intersecting with it. So I'm going to do the same thing with the second blade of grass. Second set of grass blades. I'm going to go ahead and move those up above it like that. So we'll do that. That will work. Okay. And then it's going to go ahead and position the tree right there. And I'm going to go ahead and shrink it just a bit. And then maybe move it over like so. Right about there. And if you go ahead and go to Control Test Scene, you can see what this looks like when the gray areas aren't involved, because you have a gray area surrounding your stage. And obviously I'm making things bigger, so things are getting cut off. So this is what it would look like right now. I'm not 100% sure if I like that tree in there actually, but looks a little bit out of place, but I think I'll leave it. It doesn't look too bad. Okay. Well, there you go. That's pretty much how you design a background. There is one more thing I need to do though. I need to bring my character in that I designed from the last tutorial and have him walk across the scene, just so we can kind of see this kind of all coming into play here. So let me go grab him. Okay, I've went ahead and found the character I made for the walking tutorial animation, and I've stuck him in here. Now I'm going to go ahead and extend the timeline out to 50 frames on every layer. So in order to do that, I'm going to come up here to the first layer, where my guy is, then scroll all the way down to the bottom layer, hold in Shift, and then click the bottom layer, and then right click, and insert frame. Then I'm going to take my character on frame 50, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to insert a keyframe. And then with my selection tool, I'm going to move my character all the way to the end of the scene like that. And then I'm going to come back to frame 1 and right click and insert a classic tween. Let me see how the speed looks there. It probably could be a little slower. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click this frame up here, then scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then hold in Shift and then click that frame, and then I'm going to click, hold, and drag and extend these out a bit. So every frame will extend to frame 70. And that will extend the animation duration of this. So I'll go back to frame 1, hit enter. That looks a bit better. If I go to Control, Test Scene, we can kind of see this in action. And there we go. We have a character now walking in our environment. And that's basically kind of how we wanted it all along. So we want to create our characters and have our characters interact with those environments. So there you go. That is the background tutorial. And like I said, I mean, this is just my style. I mean, there's hundreds of ways you can go about this, just like when it comes to animating and creating characters and all that. But hopefully this offered you some guidance into how to get started and maybe lay out some stuff and kind of get going on it. So, this is Chad Trofgerman signing off. If you guys would like more tutorials, please send me feedback on ideas for tutorials and keep checking the site because I'm adding tutorials all the time. Thanks for watching.